today, this week, we are going to be making some pancakes. So, since we've been cooking for quite a bit now, I have decided to actually measure everything ahead of time so that way you don't have to watch me measuring it during this demo video. Okay, so we have 1 1/4 cups milk. I have all my liquids over here, all of my dry ingredients over here. We have 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 cracked egg, 1 1/2 cups of sifted flour, 3 or 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder, which is also the same thing as 1 tablespoon and 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to put all of our dry ingredients into our mixing bowl. Okay, so we have our flour, we have our sugar, our baking powder, and our salt. And I'm going to use my whisk just to kind of give that a little stir to mix everything all around. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of keep like a little well almost in the middle. So that's where we're going to pour in all of our liquid ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to pour in my milk. You can use any type of milk that you have. We are going to pour in our melted butter. And also our egg. We're going to use our whisk and stirring this all together so that way it is nice and smooth. We shouldn't have any lumps or anything like that. We don't want lumpy pancakes. Okay, so just be careful when you're first starting so that way it doesn't go all over. Again, I'm using a much smaller mixing bowl than I normally would, but that's just mainly so that way you can see it, and I'm hoping the sun you are not getting a glare. So we're going to keep stirring this around. Now with pancakes, you can add any different type of extras to it. Today, when we're on at the stove, I'm going to put some blueberries into some of mine. I'm going to put some chocolate chips into some of mine, just to kind of mix it up. So you don't have to add it to the actual batter right now, but when we go over to the stove, you can kind of put them right on top of the pancakes so that way when you flip them, it's in there. And that way everybody in your family can have something a little bit different. So this looks pretty good, mixed up. I didn't spill anything. So you are going to need a frying pan. You're also going to need a 1/2 dry cup measure because that is what we are going to, not a 1/2 cup, sorry, 1/4 cup. That is the size of the pancakes that we are going to be putting on. Okay, so I am going to go over to the stove and let's make some pancakes. So the recipe tells us that we want to be using a medium-high heat. So I'm going to turn on my stove, and I have a 1/2 tablespoon of butter. So we are just going to make sure this is coating the entire pan, so that way our pancakes are not going to stick. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of move this all around. We are going to be using a metal turner in order to flip our pancakes. So this will start melting, but the key here is we want to make sure that the pan is hot before we put our pancakes on. And it's also, you could use a cooking spray as well if you do not want to use butter. I just kind of like having the butter flavor since pancakes typically you always add butter to them on top. Butter and some syrup, nothing better. Holding the bowl with one hand and the measuring cup with the other, I'm going to take just a tiny bit of the batter, about 1/4 cup or a little bit less, and pouring it right into the middle. The batter is a little bit liquidy, so we don't want to have more than one pancake on at a time because they will just all run together. So we are going to be using our metal turner in order to flip these. You know when pancakes are ready when you're going to start seeing lots and lots of bubbles forming up at the top. Don't try to flip a pancake unless you see those bubbles. Okay, that's telling us that it's done on the other side, so you can see lots and lots of bubbles forming. And we're going for that nice golden brown color. Okay, you don't want to flip it too early. So we're just going to give it a few more seconds. The first few pancakes that you do make are going to take a little bit longer, okay? But once you start making them, it goes much quicker. Now, the key to flipping a pancake, okay, so you can see lots and lots of bubbles here, and it's rising up. That's from the baking powder. We are going to take our metal turner, and we are going to very quickly push it right underneath, and then flip it. Look at that nice, lovely golden brown color that we have, okay? The second side is not going to take as long, maybe about 5 to 10 seconds, in order for it to just kind of, depending on how long you kept it on the first side. But once you keep making the pancakes, it's going to go much, much quicker, okay? So just like when we were doing grilled cheese, we are going to get underneath and take a look at that color. I'm going to flip it right here, and it looks like a great pancake. Okay, so I'm going to put this onto my plate, and we're going to make one more. Again, just a little bit less than 1/4 of a cup, pouring it right into the middle. If you need to re-grease your pan, you might need to about after every like 4 or 5 pancakes. That's okay, not a big deal. So we are going to, again, wait for all of those bubbles. If you have decided to use a box mix, pancake mix, which is totally fine and much easier, again, it's going to be about the same amount that you're going to be pouring onto your frying pan. So you can see all those bubbles forming. If you notice that it's getting a little bit brown really quickly, okay, you might want to turn down the temperature just a tiny bit, okay? I'm just gonna check underneath here. Oh, this is a perfect brown pancake. Flipping it. You can hear that sizzling from the hot pan. So again, once you start making them, they're going to go much quicker. So you gotta have a plate ready to go.